The sun never really rose on Karnak 7. The sky was always gray, the wind full of ash, and the ground cracked like an old bone. It was not a planet for the living. It was a place where the galaxy sent its unwanted criminals, outcasts, and people the government wanted to forget. Among the prisoners was a human named Dr. Elias Varn. He once served as a combat medic during the Cygnus Wars, but he was not like the others. He was exiled not for violence, but for mercy. Elias had refused to carry out cruel experiments on alien captives. For that, the Syndicate labeled him a traitor and threw him onto Karnak 7. Elias lived alone in a small metal shelter built from shipwreck parts. He treated wounds for others when they brought him scraps of food or clean water, but most prisoners avoided him. The Mad Doctor, they called him. Too soft to survive. One evening, everything changed. The sky turned darker than usual, and the wind howled like a dying beast. Elias sat near a dim heater, checking a broken med scanner when he heard laughter outside. Cruel, sharp, and cold. The metal door flew open, and in walked 3 large aliens, members of the Zarketh clan, a gang that ruled this part of the prison world. They wore armor made of bone and steel, and each carried a plasma blade. Their leader, Crag, held something in his arms, a small, thin body wrapped in a bloodied blanket. "Hey, human!" Crag shouted. "We brought you a gift!" Elias stood, slowly, wary. What kind of gift? Crag tossed the body onto the floor. It hit the ground with a thud. The blanket unwrapped slightly, revealing a girl, alien, with silver skin, cracked implants on her neck, and eyes half open in pain. "She's broken," said another gang member, chuckling. "Some syndicate junk. Neural tech fried. Barely. Alive." Crag leaned closer to Elias. "Fix her, or toss her out. We just thought you'd enjoy a challenge." They laughed and left. The door slammed shut behind them. Elias stood still, staring at the girl. She was breathing, barely. One of her arms was twisted the wrong way. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. The implants on her back sparked and buzzed. Her body was bruised and burned. She was clearly tortured, discarded like trash. Elias knelt beside her. He touched her forehead gently. "I don't know who you are," he whispered, "but I won't let you die." He worked quickly. He cleared the floor, placed her on a soft mat, and started cleaning her wounds. The skin was damaged, but her vital signs were just strong enough. Elias had no real medicine left. He crushed dried herbs he'd found in a ravine weeks ago, mixing them with filtered water to clean the burns. He wrapped her limbs in heated cloths, trying to ease the pain. He opened an old med kit and carefully removed a pain suppressor needle. It was risky. One wrong dose could kill her. He looked at the needle, then at her face. She was young, maybe in her 20s, if her species aged like humans. Thin metal lines ran down the sides of her cheeks, linked to the implants in her spine. "Let's hope this doesn't stop your heart," he muttered, and injected her. For hours Elias worked, sweating and tired. He ignored the hunger in his belly, the pain in his back. The girl moaned once in her sleep, then fell silent again. He stayed beside her the whole night. In the days that followed, Elias continued caring for her. She didn't wake up, but her body stopped trembling. The burns began to heal slowly. He set her broken arm using old surgical tubing and bone-stitch clamps he'd saved for emergencies. Other prisoners whispered rumors. "The human's hiding something. He's keeping a syndicate girl alive." Some were curious. Others were angry. But none dared challenge the Zarketh clan. Inside the shelter, Elias was focused only on the girl. He spoke to her softly every day. Not because he expected answers, but because he believed words could reach someone. even in darkness. Your name? I wonder what it is, he said once as he adjusted her bandages. Mine's Elias. I used to be a doctor, a real one. He chuckled to himself. I once saved a soldier who had half his face blown off. He lived, became a farmer, sent me apples every year, before I was thrown here. He looked at her again. You probably think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But you're not trash. No one is. That evening, something strange happened. As Elias was cleaning her arm, he felt her fingers twitch. He looked up. Her eyes were open, just a little. They were bright, glowing blue, and they were staring at him. You're awake, Elias whispered, almost not believing it. She didn't speak. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. It's okay, he said quickly. You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you. She blinked once, slowly. Her gaze was tired, confused. Her fingers moved again, weakly grasping the edge of the blanket. Elias smiled. It was the first time in months he had smiled like that. I don't know what they did to you, he said gently, but you're not alone anymore. She closed her eyes again, but this time, it was peaceful. Outside, the wind howled louder than ever. The ground shook as a distant explosion echoed through the hills. The world of Karnak 7 was still cruel, still broken, but inside that small, metal shelter, something had changed. A spark of hope had been lit, and Elias Varn, the exiled human healer, had taken the first step towards saving someone everyone else had thrown away. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know the danger. That was coming. But he knew one thing. He would not let her die. Not while he still breathed. Days passed on Karnak 7. The wind never stopped, and the sky stayed gray. But inside Elias's small shelter, something was slowly changing. The alien girl was healing. Her wounds closed little by little. The bruises faded, and the burns on her back started turning to scars. Her broken arm was stiff but healing in place. The implants on her neck no longer sparked, though they still hummed softly at night. Elias worked day and night to care for her. He barely slept, ate very little, and searched old wrecks every day to find anything useful. He fixed a broken solar panel, giving them a little more power. He found a half-dead water purifier in a crashed shuttle and made it work again. He did. All this not just to survive, but to keep her alive. One morning, Elias returned to the shelter carrying a satchel full of parts when he saw her sitting up. He froze. The girl sat on the floor, her back against the wall, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her head moved slowly, her glowing blue eyes watching him with quiet caution. You're awake, Elias said softly, not wanting to scare her. He dropped the satchel gently. She didn't answer but tilted her head. I wasn't sure you'd make it, he said, moving slowly. But you did. The girl looked at her arms, her body, then back at Elias. She opened her mouth and spoke for the first time. Why? She asked. Her voice was soft, broken, like wind over broken glass. Why? What? Elias asked. Why did you help me? Elias sat down across from her, not too close. You were dying. Someone had to help. No one helps, she whispered. Not here. Not ever. I do, Elias said. She stared at him for a long time, as if trying to read his soul. Finally, she said, My name is Riva. Elias smiled. Riva. That's a good name. She nodded weakly, then looked around the shelter. Where am I? Karnak 7, Elias answered. Prison planet. They dumped you here. Riva's face twitched. She closed her eyes for a second. I remember falling, being thrown out of a ship, pain, then nothing. You were in bad shape, Elias said. They said your implants were fried. You had burns, broken bones, damaged spine links. Riva touched the back of her neck. She flinched. I was a pilot, she whispered. Neural link flyer. Connected. Directly to starships. I was fast. Precise. Perfect. She looked at her hands, trembling. Then my chip burned out. They called me useless. Scrap. They threw me away. Elias's heart ached. I've seen war, he said. But this, what they did to you, it's worse. Riva looked at him again. Why did you help me? He sighed. Because no one else would. Over the next few days, Riva grew stronger. She could walk short distances now, though her legs were weak. Her speech improved, though her voice still cracked at times. She didn't talk much, but she watched everything Elias did. She studied how he built things, how he cleaned wounds, how he treated cuts with crushed herbs and heated metal. Your methods are old, she said once. I work with what I've got, he replied. Riva nodded. Still effective. One evening, while Elias cooked a stew made of dried roots and fungus, Riva sat beside the broken heater, holding a damaged data core. Do you know what this is? She asked. Elias leaned over. Looks like a memory crystal. It was in my neck, she said quietly. Part of my link core. I think it still has something left. Memories, maps, flight logs, maybe even syndicate codes. That's dangerous, Elias said. I know, Riva replied. That's why I want it fixed. Elias frowned. If someone finds out you have this, they'll kill me, she said calmly. I know. Elias looked at the core, then at her. I might be able to fix it, carefully, but it will take time. Riva nodded. I trust you. Those 3 words hit Elias harder than any blade. On Karnak 7, no one trusted anyone, but she had just said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. Later that night, while Riva slept, Elias sat beside her and looked closely at her implants. Thin metal lines ran from the base of her skull down her spine. Some were cracked. Others had tiny sparks inside. He'd seen similar tech during the war, but not like this. This was advanced, custom-made, possibly illegal. Suddenly, Riva woke up with a gasp. Her body jerked. Her eyes turned wild. No! Stop! I'll fly! I'll fly! Don't burn me again! Elias jumped back, shocked. Riva's body trembled, and her hands clawed at her neck. Sparks flew from her implants. Riva, it's okay! Elias shouted. She didn't hear him. She was lost in some horrible memory. Her face twisted in pain, her eyes wide with fear. Elias grabbed a coolant patch and slapped it on her back. Then he pressed a power dampener against her neural port. It buzzed once, and her body went limp. Riva collapsed, breathing hard. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. You had a seizure, Elias said gently. Your chip flared. I've seen it before. In soldiers. I can't control it, she said. The memories. They come back when I sleep. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll find a way to stabilize it. I promise. Even if it kills you? She asked. Elias didn't answer at first. Then he said, If I do nothing, you'll die anyway. I'd rather take the risk. Riva looked at him with wide, wet eyes. Why? She asked again, her voice almost a whisper. Elias smiled, tired but calm. Because I believe in second chances. The next day, Elias started scavenging far beyond the safe zones. He climbed into deep ravines, entered forbidden wrecks, and stole parts from syndicate satellites. He found broken stabilizers, neural plates, and even a medical diagnostic chip. He knew it was dangerous. The Zarketh clan controlled these areas. If they caught him, they'd tear him apart. But he kept going. For Riva. One afternoon, Elias returned, bleeding from a cut on his arm and limping. Riva rushed to him. You're hurt. I'm fine, he muttered. You're not, she said firmly. Why would you risk your life like this? To fix that chip in your spine, he said. So you don't wake up screaming every night. She helped him sit and clean the wound. Her hands were gentle now, careful. I don't understand. You, she whispered. You will, Elias replied, smiling through the pain. Outside the shelter, something was changing. The Zarketh clan had noticed Elias wandering too far. They were watching, and they were not pleased. Inside, Riva held the half-repaired memory core in her hands. She stared at Elias as he slept. For the first time in her life, someone had fought for her without wanting anything in return, and she would never forget it. The sun was hidden again behind thick black clouds. On Karnak 7, it was never truly bright. But today, the sky felt even heavier. Inside the shelter, Elias sat at the workbench, using a solder tool to carefully connect small wires. Riva stood, nearby, watching him with quiet focus. The memory core was almost fixed. The outer shell was repaired. The inner crystal was clean. Just one last wire left to reconnect the data link. Are you sure you want to do this? Elias asked without looking up. Yes, Riva answered firmly. If there's anything dangerous in this core, he said, it might bring trouble. I need to know what's in there, she said. It might help us, or warn us. Elias nodded. With a deep breath, he clicked the wire into place. The core lit up with a soft blue glow. It pulsed, slow and steady, like a heartbeat. Riva took it in her hands. She closed her eyes. Her implants lit up faintly. A quiet hum filled the room. The connection was working. She stood still for a long moment, then opened her eyes. I remember. Now, she whispered. The mission. The betrayal. Elias leaned forward. What happened? I was flying a Syndicate command ship. We were carrying data for a top-secret weapon. But I heard voices, officers planning to erase me once we arrived. They knew my link core had problems. I was replaceable. She clenched her fists. They disabled my oxygen and ejected me into space. Said I was damaged goods. Elias said nothing for a moment. Then he whispered, Monsters! I survived because the nav systems failed. I landed on a wreck and activated a beacon before I passed out. That's when the Zarketh found you, Elias guessed. Yes, she said. They picked me up only to play with me. Hurt me. Elias looked away, angry. They thought I was just a broken toy, Riva said. But I still remember everything. Their weapon, the coordinates, and the codes. Do you still have access to them? He asked. Riva nodded. If we can reach a transmitter, we can send a warning to the rebel fleet. They're out there, fighting back. Elias's face hardened. Then we'll do it. But nothing on Karnak 7 came easy. That same night, the wind grew stronger. Dust slammed against the shelter walls. Metal sheets shook. The temperature dropped. A storm was coming. But this storm was not made of wind alone. From the hills, the Zarketh clan marched toward Elias's shelter. Crag, their leader, walked at the front, his eyes glowing red with rage. Where is the girl? He growled. We gave her to the human, and he fixed her. Now, she belongs to us again. Behind him were 6 more gang members, all armed with plasma rifles and bone blades. They were ready to burn the place to the ground. Inside, Riva and Elias heard the alarm go off, a soft beep. A sensor had been triggered. They're coming, Elias said. Riva nodded. I'll hold them off. You're not strong enough, Elias said quickly. I can use my implants, she replied. I've been practicing. But if you overload your chip, I don't care. Elias looked into her eyes. She meant it. He grabbed a small device from the drawer. Here, it's a short-range jammer. We'll block their weapons for 20 seconds. That's enough, she said. They moved quickly. Elias opened the secret trap door under the shelter. It led to a narrow tunnel he had dug long ago, in case he needed to escape. "You stay here," Riva said. "Not a chance," Elias replied. They climbed out the backside of the hill, staying low. The front of the shelter was now surrounded by the Zarketh clan. Crag kicked open the door. The place was empty. "Gone," he growled. "Find them!" Elias and Riva moved to an old communication tower on top of the rocks. It was broken, but with a little work, it could send a signal. Elias began fixing the main panel. Riva stood guard. Below, the gang spread out, searching the rocks. Then Riva felt it. Her implants buzzed. Voices, thoughts, weak but present. She closed her eyes and focused. "They're near the signal tower. The human is with her." She opened her eyes. "They're coming fast." "I just need a few more minutes," Elias said. Riva nodded and stepped forward, her implants glowing brighter. As the first two gang members reached the cliff, Riva unleashed her power. A wave of mental force hit them. They stumbled, dropping their rifles. One of them screamed and ran back, clutching his head. The other collapsed. Riva breathed hard. Her vision blurred, but she held her ground. Another came, this one stronger, wearing a helmet that blocked her powers. He charged. Elias saw him and shouted, "Duck!" Riva dropped to the ground. Elias threw a metal spike at the attacker. It struck his armor, releasing an electric burst. The attacker fell, twitching. The rest were climbing up fast. "Time's up," Elias said. "Signal is ready." Riva placed the memory core into the panel. "Sending message now." The panel blinked. The signal pulsed into the sky, bouncing off old satellites. It was weak, but it was out there. "They'll hear it," Riva said. A blast rocked the rocks near them. Plasma fire. Crag was here. "Enough," he shouted. "The girl is ours." "The human dies." Riva turned to face him. "No," she said. She stepped forward, implants flaring. Crag roared and raised his blade. But before he could strike, Elias ran in front of her. "You want someone to kill? Take me!" Crag laughed. "Gladly." He swung the blade, but Riva caught it. Her fingers glowed bright blue. Her mind locked onto Crag's brain. His eyes went wide. His muscles froze. He dropped the weapon. Riva whispered, "You're done." With one last surge, she overloaded his mind, just enough to make him black out. Crag dropped like a stone. The other gang members stopped. They saw their leader fall. They turned and ran. The storm still howled in the sky, but Elias and Riva stood, tall on the cliff, the wind blowing around them. They were alive. Later that night, back at the shelter, Elias tended to her again. She had pushed her implants too far. Her body shook, but her mind was calm. "You saved me," Elias said. "You saved me first," she replied. He smiled. "We're even now." "Not even close," she said with a soft smile. The signal was out. Help might come. Or maybe not. But one thing was clear. Riva was not broken anymore, and Elias was not alone. Together, they had fought the storm. Together, they had survived. The stars were cold and distant above Karnak 7, but inside the small shelter, a new fire was kindling. Elias and Riva had survived the attack, but the danger was far from over. Days passed. The message Riva sent was traveling through space. Somewhere, in the dark void, hope stirred. Riva was growing stronger, but she struggled with her powers. Her neural implants were still unstable. Each time she pushed her abilities, her body trembled. Her mind ached. Elias worked beside her, trying to build a better stabilizer for her brain chip. His hands were steady, but his heart was heavy. One morning, Riva stood by the window. Her eyes, bright blue and glowing faintly, scanned the horizon. The storm clouds were gone, but the feeling of being hunted never left. Elias joined her. "Do you think help is coming?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said quietly, "I don't know, but I have to believe it." Suddenly, the ground shook beneath them. A low rumble echoed through the valley. Elias grabbed Riva's arm. "What is that?" Outside, the Zarketh clan had returned. But this time they brought more than just a few soldiers. They brought heavy weapons and war machines. Their eyes burned. With revenge, the gang's goal was clear: capture Riva and kill Elias. Inside the shelter, Elias and Riva prepared for the fight. Elias handed her a small device. "This will amplify your implants, but only for a short time. Use it wisely." Riva took the device. "I'll do my best." The sound of metal footsteps grew louder. The door shook under heavy blows. Then the door exploded inward. The gang stormed in, weapons ready. Elias stepped forward, holding a makeshift spear. Riva's eyes glowed fiercely. The fight began. Riva unleashed a wave of mental force. The gang members fell back, clutching their heads, screaming, but the attackers were many. They pushed forward with plasma rifles, firing blindly. Elias dodged blasts, stabbing and slashing with his spear. His body moved with a warrior's grace, despite his age and weakness. Riva's power surged through the shelter. She blocked attacks with shields of pure energy, sending enemies flying, but each use of her implants drained her strength. She stumbled, her vision blurring. Elias caught her. "You can rest after this." "No," she said. "We have to finish it." Suddenly, a heavy machine crashed through the wall. A giant mech, controlled by the gang, loomed over them. Its metal claws smashed the ground. Elias looked at Riva. "We need to stop that thing." Riva nodded and took a deep breath. She touched the amplifier on her neck. Her implants glowed like a star. She closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. The mech's circuits sparked. Its movement slowed. The gang's soldiers shouted and fired at her, but their shots were useless. Riva concentrated harder. The mech's arms froze mid-swing. With a final burst of energy, the mech collapsed, metal cracking and smoking. The shelter was silent. The gang was beaten. Riva fell to her knees, exhausted. Elias helped her up. "You did it," he said, proud. She smiled weakly. "We did it." The fight had drained them both. Elias helped Riva to her bed. "I don't know how much longer you can keep this up," he said. Riva looked at him. "I have to. There's more at stake than just us." "What do you mean?" "I still have access to syndicate data," she said. "If I can send a full warning, maybe the rebels can stop the syndicate's weapon." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we keep fighting." That night, Riva's mind opened wider than before. She reached into the memories stored in her implants. She saw faces, allies and enemies, friends and betrayers. She saw battles and secrets. But she also saw Elias, not just a healer, but a fighter with a fierce heart. In her mind, their thoughts touched. She saw his pain, his loneliness. She understood why he saved her, because he believed in hope, because he believed in her. Morning came with quiet calm. Outside, the first sign of life showed on Karnak 7. A small scout ship appeared on the horizon. Riva and Elias watched together as the ship landed nearby. The door opened. A group of rebels stepped out, their uniforms worn but proud. "We received your signal," their leader said. "We're here to help." Riva smiled for the first time in years. Elias stood tall beside her. They were no longer alone. Together, they would fight for a future beyond this prison world. Together, they would rewrite their fate. The scout ship's engines hummed softly as it settled on the cracked ground near Elias's shelter. The harsh wind of Karnak 7 still blew, but hope now arrived on tired metal wings. The rebels stepped out, worn, battle-scarred, but with eyes full of purpose. Their leader was a tall woman with silver hair and a steady voice. She looked at Riva with respect. "We are the remnant fleet," she said. "We fight the Syndicate's cruelty. We heard your call." Riva's eyes shone with new life. "Thank you. I have information that can stop their weapon." Elias watched silently. The years of exile had left scars on his body and soul, but this moment made it all feel worthwhile. The rebel leader turned to Elias. "We know what you did here. You saved her." Elias nodded. "I couldn't leave her to die." The leader smiled. "Then you have a place with us. We could use a man like you." Elias hesitated. He had been alone for so long. The thought of leaving Karnak 7 was frightening. Riva took his hand. "You're not alone anymore." That simple truth changed everything. Inside the ship, the rebels worked quickly to patch up the shelter and treat the wounded. Riva shared the data she had recovered from her implants. The rebels listened closely. The Syndicate's secret weapon was a planet killer, a massive bomb capable of destroying entire worlds. It was hidden deep in a fortress guarded by fleets of warships. "If we don't stop it," Riva said, "millions will die." The fleet's commander planned an attack, but they needed Riva and Elias. Her knowledge of the weapon and his experience as a medic would be vital. Elias accepted. It was time to fight, not just survive. Days later, the ship lifted off from Karnak 7. The barren prison planet shrank beneath them, swallowed by the endless black. Inside the command room, Riva studied star charts. Elias stood beside her, still quiet but determined. For the first time, Elias felt hope. The journey was long and dangerous. Syndicate patrols chased them through asteroid fields and dark nebulae. Riva's implants buzzed constantly, warning of incoming threats. Elias treated the crew's injuries from skirmishes. His hands moved swiftly, saving lives. The bond between Riva and Elias grew stronger. They were partners in survival, in hope. Finally, the fleet reached the Syndicate's fortress. A massive structure floated in space, surrounded by countless warships. The rebels prepared for battle. Riva connected to the ship's systems, guiding the fleet through secret passages. Elias stayed ready, tending to the wounded. The battle was fierce. Explosions lit the void. Plasma beams tore through metal hulls. Riva used her neural link to disable enemy systems. She hacked into the fortress controls, buying the rebels time. Elias rushed through corridors, treating injured soldiers. Amid the chaos, Riva found the weapon's core, a glowing sphere of destructive energy. She prepared to disable it. But a guard appeared, blocking her way. Elias arrived just in time, fighting off the attacker. Together, they reached the core. Riva focused her implants, sending a pulse through the weapon. The core began to die. The fortress started to collapse. Riva grabbed Elias's hand. "We have to leave," she shouted. They ran through crumbling halls, dodging debris. Outside, the rebels covered their escape, fighting fiercely. The ship blasted off just as the fortress exploded in a brilliant fireball. Back on the bridge, the fleet cheered. The weapon was destroyed. Riva looked at Elias. "We did it." He smiled, tired but proud. Together, months later, on a new world free from Syndicate control, Riva and Elias stood beneath a bright sky. The rebel leader approached them. "You saved countless lives," she said. "We owe you everything." Riva turned to Elias. "I thought I was broken." He shook his head. "You were never broken. You just needed someone to believe in you." They smiled. Together they had changed the fate of many, and so the human who risked death to heal a damaged alien girl found not only a friend, but a new purpose. The galaxy would remember their story, not as victims, but as heroes.